The Alphabet Killer, a haunting mystery of Rochester. In the early 1970s, the city of Rochester, New York, was shaken by a series of brutal murders that would become known as the Alphabet Murders. These killings were unique not only for their tragic and senseless nature, but also because of the chilling pattern that emerged, linking each victim's initials to the name of the place where their bodies were found. The media quickly dubbed the perpetrator the Alphabet Killer, a moniker that captured both the public's fear and fascination with the case. Despite extensive investigations and widespread attention, the identity of the Alphabet Killer remains one of the most perplexing mysteries in American criminal history. The first known victim of the Alphabet Killer was 10-year-old Carmen Colon, who disappeared on November 16, 1971. Her body was found 2 days later, abandoned near Churchville, New York, about 12 miles from where she had last been seen. The brutal nature of her death, combined with the proximity of the crime scene to her home, sent shockwaves through the Rochester community. The police were immediately alerted to the possibility that this was not an isolated incident, and their worst fears were confirmed when a second murder occurred less than a year later. On April 2, 1973, 11-year-old Wanda Walkowicz was reported missing after failing to return home from a grocery store. Her body was discovered the following day near a rest area off Route 104 in Webster, New York. Like Carmen Colon, Wanda's initials matched those of the location where her body was found. The police began to suspect that they were dealing with a serial killer, one who was selecting his victims based on a disturbing pattern. The third and final known victim was 11-year-old Michelle Maenza, who disappeared on November 26, 1973. Her body was found 2 days later in Macedon, New York, about 15 miles from Rochester. Once again, the victim's initials matched the location, confirming the presence of a pattern that was both terrifying and baffling. Despite the clear connections between the murders, the police were unable to identify a suspect, and the killer's ability to strike without leaving significant evidence made the investigation exceedingly difficult. The Alphabet Murders triggered one of the largest manhunts in New York State's history. Law enforcement officials from multiple agencies, including the Rochester Police Department and the FBI, were involved in the investigation. Despite their efforts, the killer remained elusive. The investigators explored several leads, including the possibility that the killer was someone known to the victims, given the apparent familiarity with their routines and the specific locations where the bodies were found. However, these leads failed to produce any viable suspects. Over the years, numerous theories have been proposed about the identity of the Alphabet Killer. One of the most prominent suspects was Kenneth Bianchi, one of the Hillside Stranglers, who terrorized Los Angeles in the late 1970s. Bianchi had lived in Rochester during the time of the murders and had a history of violence against women. However, there was insufficient evidence to definitively link him to the Alphabet Murders, and he was never charged in connection with the case. Another theory suggested that the murders might have been the work of multiple killers, possibly working together or copying each other. This idea gained traction due to the varying methods used in the murders, which some investigators believed indicated different individuals were involved. However, this theory also lacked concrete evidence and ultimately failed to provide answers. Despite advances in forensic technology, including the use of DNA testing, the case remains unsolved. The lack of physical evidence, coupled with the passage of time, has made it increasingly unlikely that the killer will ever be identified. For the families of Carmen Colon, Wanda Walkowicz, and Michelle Maenza, the lack of closure is a continuing source of pain and frustration. The Alphabet Killer case is a haunting reminder of the challenges faced by law enforcement in solving serial murders, particularly those involving elusive and methodical perpetrators. The pattern of the killings, with the victims' initials matching the locations where their bodies were found, added a sinister and puzzling element to an already tragic series of events. Despite decades of investigation and numerous theories, the identity of the Alphabet Killer remains a mystery, leaving the families of the victims and the community of Rochester with unanswered questions and unresolved grief. The case continues to captivate true crime enthusiasts and serves as a sobering example of the limits of criminal investigation, even in the face of apparent patterns and clues.
Thank you for watching Tell Time Tales. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest stories. Until next time, keep exploring the past.